Cúig Bomajogus.
Guramaga Las Ceann Las Ceann, it is an honour for me on behalf of my party, Fianna Fáil, to speak today, the 22nd anniversary of when the Srebrenica massacre began. And I too remember that day and remember the reporting of those events when 8,000 Bosnian men and boys were murdered by Bosnian Serb forces under the command of former General Ratko Mladic. The barbaric slaughter of thousands of innocent civilians was compounded by the fact that this was supposed to be a UN safe zone area under the protection of approximately 600 Dutch troops. And the failure of the UN came at a horrific cost to human victims and still, in my view, casts a dark shadow over the UN and the international community. The Srebrenica victims were buried in mass graves, and in an effort to conceal these horrendous crimes, the remains were removed to other sites, with bodies being dismembered and dispersed. And only last Tuesday, 71 of those people were finally laid to rest in a funeral ceremony, and the youngest, Damir Suljic, was only 15 at the time when he was killed, and he was buried next to his father, his grandfather and his uncle. And if we can only imagine the hurt and loss to that poor young man's family and to his community. And it is indeed an honour to have members of the Bosnian community here with us in the public gallery. Whilst it was pledged at the time, and I think the United Nations recognised the failures of the international community in responding to the crisis in the former Yugoslavia, and particularly in Bosnia. You think of Sarajevo and you think of Srebrenica in particular, but then you look into Croatia and all the crimes that were committed over that period. It was pledged that we would never again witness an atrocity such as Srebrenica. I think that was to be the lasting testament to the largest massacre of Europeans on European soil since World War II. But unfortunately, at Las Ceann, we have seen the international community and the lack of response to Aleppo, to Mount Sinjar with the Yazidis, to the hundreds of thousands and millions of Christians persecuted in the Middle East. I was struck by figures that I read in relation to the Christian population in Iraq, which in less than 10 years has fallen from 1.4 million to 275,000. And I think all of us should condemn genocide and persecution of all minorities. And certainly, for me, the first time where I actually saw, at that stage in 22 years ago, something like this happening in Srebrenica, effectively nearly live on television. And we do keep wondering how the world can continue to let such things happen. If we keep hoping that someone else will do the right thing, and if we continue to let history repeat itself, we'll continue to fail the thousands of those who died in Srebrenica and in all other genocides. And the victims of the Srebrenica genocide, and indeed all others, deserve better than this. Therefore, all members of the United Nations and the European Union must not pay lip service to the principles upon which these organisations were founded, but must demonstrate their commitment to them by their actions and by their convictions. And in order to move on, and in order for there to be reconciliation, and for there to be real peace in Bosnia and in the region, there is a need from all sides to acknowledge the extent of the crimes committed in Bosnia, and specifically in Srebrenica. And it is with regret that many in Republika Srpska and many in even the mayor of Srebrenica, the first Serb mayor of Srebrenica, since this massacre, has not been able to agree that this was actually a genocide. And there has to be recognition that this was a genocide, that this was murder perpetrated on the community of Bosniaks simply because they were Muslim. And that acknowledgement needs to happen before there will be full reconciliation in the region. And I think we must, 22 years later, really look in an honest way to see how the European Union and indeed the United Nations and the international community respond to crises currently today, and as they occur, respond to genocides and those who perpetrate them, and to protect innocent civilians. And I think that will be the testament to those who were brutally murdered in Srebrenica.